It is time to talk Fear Street again, and I am so excited about it. Fear Street 1994 is still my favorite film. You guys know that soft spot I've got for 90s slashers is just so incredibly strong. But I will tell you that Fear Street 1978, it is just as good. So, as the title suggests on this one, Fear Street 1978 takes us back to the summer of 1978 when Ziggy and Cindy Berman are at Camp Nightwing. Ziggy is a camper there and Cindy is in her first summer as a counselor. One day, a new slasher strikes, and it's actually one that we did see in Fear Street 1994. So this new installment reveals the origin of the Camp Nightwing killer. Let's start with the things that I think both 1994 and 1978 did that I liked quite a bit, beginning with those needle drops. Yes, I know they hit hard and there's a lot of them, but yet again, it's an A+ soundtrack, and I think that they always serve the atmosphere well, and also the pace of the film too. I guess I'm just of the belief that 1994 and now 1978 justify every single one of them. Also, yet again, Fear Street 1978 plays with those familiar genre essentials so well, honoring what served as inspiration for the film, and also incorporating those visuals and ideas in a way that makes them feel like they have great purpose here. Then there's the ensemble. Huge shout out to casting director Carmen Cuba. Not only did she do a stellar job filling out the rosters for these specific films, but now she's also introduced me to a whole bunch of names that I didn't know before that now I'm gonna make a point to follow their work because they're so good in this. Beginning, of course, with Emily Rudd and also Sadie Sink, who of course I knew from Stranger Things, but they play Cindy and Ziggy in the movie. I am all about Sink's no-nonsense, feisty energy as Ziggy in this, but I also absolutely love the polar opposite that Rudd delivers as Cindy, which is basically follow the rules so closely that she just has to be able to make her way out of Shadyside eventually, right? They are both absolutely stellar, all on their own, but I think the real exciting thing about those two characters it's the fireworks between them as sisters, and then also how their relationship just so well reflects the struggle of being a Shadysider overall. They are basically on complete opposite ends of that spectrum. Similar to Dina in 1994, Ziggy is all doom and gloom about it. Being a Shadysider means that there's just no hope for her. It's that plain and simple. Cindy, however, thinks she can beat the odds and get out. And there is something very admirable about her ambition, but it's a front. Wearing a super cute polo shirt to hide the hurt and the reality of their situation there. It's pretty heartbreaking on both fronts, seeing how their differences tear them apart, just seeing what a dark and hopeless place Ziggy's in, and then also feeling the desperation fueling Cindy's efforts. And I think that the movie actually presents those polar opposite mentalities in a way that makes both vital to the mystery. If you didn't have two individuals on such opposite ends of that spectrum working together, I don't think that overall the characters would have been able to advance in the mystery of it all. So I do think that that is of the utmost importance here. And then on top of that, even though these two characters are kind of separated for a good chunk of the film, the performances are so good that that sister relationship still feels like the beating heart of this whole thing, and I found that especially powerful. But that isn't the only on-screen connection that I think plays quite well. Ryan Simkins is also a major standout in 1978 as Alice. She's another camp counselor, and at one point she used to be very good friends with Cindy until the two of them went down different paths. Cindy, of course, trying to be Miss Perfect, and then you've got Alice, who's basically saying screw it and just doing whatever her heart desires. And I know that that might sound a little similar to the Cindy-Ziggy dynamic when I put it that way, but if you really look at how Shadyside affects Ziggy and then Alice and how they deal with that, it really is quite different, and I think that nuances like that contribute to making this world feel especially rich, full, and also quite true to life in terms of people coping with challenges in different ways. And then also the fact that you just don't really know what someone else is going through behind closed doors. But back to Simkins' work specifically for a brief moment. She is just yet another Fear Street cast member with an undeniable screen presence and an absolutely infectious fight to her. She basically makes it impossible for you not to be rooting for Alice from start to finish in this. I was so impressed by her work here. Now, forgive me with this next topic I want to address because I have to do so very, very vaguely in order to steer well clear of spoilers, which I will do. Like Fear Street 1994, I think that Fear Street 1978 plays great as one single movie. But of course, it is part of a trilogy, and there is definitely connectivity going on here. And I am very, very into how the whole thing is unfolding and how they're beefing up Shadyside's history as it all goes forward. Of course, there are questions at the end of both films that we won't have answers to until the whole thing wraps up. But there's something about those lingering unanswered questions that don't make either film feel any less full. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that these two Fear Street movies, they take the necessary time and care to develop fully realized characters with powerful ties to one another. They're all people with layers and depth that you come to care about. When you've got an ensemble that is the foundation of such a mystery, and then also when you've got stories being told in individual films that have very strong beginnings, middles, and ends, you wind up in a place where you're basically getting the best of both worlds. You are getting full single films, but also a series of movies with a very effective build to them. All right, let's get into the score on this one. I am just taking that graphic I used on the last one, and I'm applying it here because Fear Street 1978 is also getting 4.5 Deweys out of 5 on the Dewey Decimovie scale. I could really go on and on about the things that I loved in this one. Director Leigh Janiak just appears to know exactly what she's doing when it comes to unique, full, and super alluring world building that is also tied to genre classics. And then on top of that, she also knows how to bring the absolute most out of her extremely talented ensemble, and wow, does she know how to craft a kill scene. Somewhat similar to the bread slicer in 1994, but a completely different type of kill. There's something that happens in the third act of this one that is just, it is brutal, vicious, ripped my heart into a million pieces, but in the best possible way. And yet again, it is a Fear Street kill that I don't think I'm ever gonna forget. So I will leave you guys there, but you know what I love. Please chime in the comments below when you watch Fear Street 1978. You know how obsessed I am with this series, and I want to talk to you guys about it. So get on that. And before I leave you, Patreon shout out time. This is a great group, and it includes Arturo, Matthew, Seth, Neil, James, and Kavi. These 6 individuals are all a part of the Slack tier of the Patreon campaign, and they are all wonderful. Patreon is very important, it seriously is, to keeping all of this up and running, but that Slack community is also a vital support system. They support me, they support each other, and I was reminded recently of how important that is. So it's a very special group, and to the 6 of you, I can't tell you how happy I am that you are a part of it. So I want you to know that. To everybody out there watching this review, stay tuned. I will have a Fear Street 1666 review for you when the time comes. But until then, keep an eye on the channel, like and share this review before you go, and I'll see you real soon.